Hi, Lenore here, and I'm going to work through this problem 6-1A. So in this situation, we have four independent scenarios, A, B, C, and D. We're given the information right out of the book, and we need to fill in the blanks. So let's work with A, and let me highlight that. I don't quite like this yellow. It's almost too yellow for me. So let's go with green, Cañada. Okay, so I've put in the information, sales, 300,000. The contribution margin per unit cost is $520. $20,000 is the net income before tax. And we're asked to solve for variable expense and fixed expense, and the unit is 30,000 units. So where do we start? Well, you'll notice, first of all, I put in this little chart. So we're able to solve for all these pieces using other pieces as help. So first and foremost, let's try to solve how much per unit is the selling price. So we take the total sales dollars and we divide it by the total units sold. So here we can see that the selling price per unit is $10. Contribution margin is $5.20. That was given. Therefore, the variable per unit cost is $4.80. Now with that, we can figure out our percentages. So we set sales as 100%, then everything else is a percentage of sales. So variable expense, $4.80 divided by $10. And for the contribution margin, just the sales percentage less the variable expense percentage. Now, with this information, we can solve the rest of it. So how do we calculate? Oh, something's going on here. I don't know whether it's my microphone or my computer. Hang tight. So I'm not certain if you can see that, but there's something screwy going on with my monitor. With that said, let me continue. I don't think you can see it. So to calculate my variable expense, let's take the variable cost per unit and multiply that by the number of units. So that equals 144,000. So that is the answer for A. Now, to calculate B, which is the fixed expense, we first have to calculate the contribution margin, which is sales less variable expense. And now for our fixed expense, we can take our contribution margin and subtract our net income before tax. So let's do that. So there we go. We have all the pieces. This is A, and this is B. And with the information shown, we were able to calculate all the other pieces. So with that said, Lenore out. Hi, I'm back again. So now let's work with B. So here we go. We're going to work with this problem, or this scenario actually, B. Let's make that one green, and we're no longer working with that information. So here's the information given. We need to calculate how much sales dollars. We're given variable expense, fixed expense, and net income before tax, and we're given $7 as the contribution margin per unit cost. So where do we even start? Well, first, let's start with the contribution margin. So the contribution margin is the fixed expense plus the target profit or net income before tax. So that gives us a total of $77,000. From here, we can now calculate the number of units. So number of units equals the $77,000 divided by the $7 per unit for contribution margin. So we're working with 11,000 units. So once we have the 11,000 units, we can now calculate, our variable expense by taking the $91,000, dividing it by 11,000 units, and we know that the per unit cost for variable is $8.27. We can now calculate total sales. That's going to be variable expense plus contribution margin, or $168,000. We can also calculate the per unit two ways. We can take total sales and divide it by 11,000 units, or we could have added, let me show you over here, the contribution margin per unit and the variable expense per unit. So letter C is the 168, and letter D is the 11,000 units. So with that said, I'm going to reset for the next problem. Talk to you soon. Okay, I'm back, and I've set up the problem so we can solve scenario C. So this is the information given. Fixed expense, $43,200. Net income tax before, or net income before tax or a loss, and 40%. So we want to calculate total sales and total variable expense. In order to do that, we need to calculate first the contribution margin. Contribution margin is fixed expense plus the target profit or the net income before tax. So there we go, $72,000. Now, I put this formula here for you because total sales equals the contribution margin in dollars divided by the contribution margin percentage. So let me show you what that looks like. So that's 72,000 divided by 40%. So when you divide by a percentage, you're going to get dollars. When you divide by a unit, a per unit cost, you're going to get units. So let's calculate the sales. 72,000 divided by 40%. That results in $180,000 in sales. Now, to calculate the variable expense, we're going to take total sales and subtract by total contribution margin dollars. So there we go, $108,000. So E is 180 and F is $108,000. So with that, I'm going to set up for the next problem. I'll be back soon. Okay, I'm back. So let's solve D. D, we're given total sales. We need to calculate variable expense. We're given total fixed expense and the net income before the tax loss. They want us to calculate the contribution margin ratio. So let's do that. Now, in order for fixed expense, well, we could do two things, right? We could calculate the variable expense. Since that's asked, let's do that by taking total sales dollars and subtracting total contribution margin dollars. That gives us $171,000. We now can calculate our contribution margin by taking our contribution margin ratio, total dollars, and adding to it, let me back up. Oh, here we go. And adding to it the loss. Oops, I did that wrong, didn't I? So we're going to take the $89,000 and we're going to add to it $11,000, right? Let's double check it to make certain. 89 minus 100,000 is 11,000. When we have a loss, it's easy for me to get a little confused. Hopefully you didn't have that problem. Now, to calculate the contribution margin ratio, remember we set total sales to be 100%, then everything else is a percentage of total sales. So total sales is 100%, variable expense is then divided by total sales, results in 66%. And we can do two things. Whoops. We can take the 100% less the 66%, or, which would result in 34%, or we can take the $89,000 and divide it by $260. So as you can see, has a little bit of rounding going on, but when we turn it into a percentage, it equals 34%. So to answer this question, G, variable expense, was $171,000. H, the contribution margin, is 34%. Okay, so with that, I will talk to you soon. I hope you didn't go away because I realized that I put this 89,000 as a contribution margin and it was not. It's fixed expense. So I apologize. So let's go ahead and calculate G and H again. So the contribution margin is the fixed expense less the net income before tax. So 78,000 less 89,000 is 11,000 as a loss. Variable expense is sales less contribution margin. To calculate the percentage, we set sales to be 100%, so we can divide it by itself. Then our contribution margin ratio is the 78,000 divided by the 260,000. So my mistake earlier, the correct solution is variable expense 182,000 and the contribution margin ratio is right here at 30%. Variable expense is 70%, but it wasn't asked for. So I apologize for the error. If I could edit this out, the last answer out, I would. I don't believe I have that capability. So with that said, I will talk to you later. Lenore out.